wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending miles on my phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last. I don't know.
That was Wouter with Outside here on WNHH 103.5 FM New Haven. It is noon on a Friday, so you know it must be time for Behind the Brand. My name is Easy Blues. Prestige got a text message from Ms. Davis and is actually on search for the Holy Grail right now, so we're going to let him do what he needs to do and get that squared away. But today, we are going to talk about something that's absolutely incredible. I do say this all the time, but the heralds of this world are the ones that take down the happenings and are able to spin that to let everyone know. From the dawn of time, when the minstrels sat with lutes on the corner saying, hear ye, information was passed from generation to generation, person to person, and this is the way it went. If we did not have people cataloging, we would never have history. And if we didn't have history, we would repeat mistake after mistake after mistake. And let's be honest, even with the written history we have, we're still repeating some mistakes. Looking at you. But it is what it is. You know, we don't pour salt in anyone else's hustle. But today, I want everyone to put their hands together. Not if you're driving. Please keep your hands at 10 and 2. We don't need any accidents. But mentally, I want you to put their hands together for the amazing, the incredible, a person who goes by many names, whether it be DJ QT, whether it be Zoe Jensen, whether it be the founder of one of the coolest magazines in the history of magazines, Connecticut. I'm sorry, I should not have said that. I mean, Connecticut, see you next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Thank you, welcome, bienvenue, and thank you for being here on this incredible adventure today.
What a sweet intro. Thank you so much. I think of myself playing a lute all the time. I think that's perfect.
Well, it's because it actually rhymes with your traditional instrument as well.
Exactly, with the flute. Exactly.
It works out absolutely incredibly. So for the people who don't know you, for the people who have been living under a rock in downtown Dayton for so long and have no idea who you are and where you came from, Zoe, what brought you to New Haven? Were you born here? Were you bred here? Were you programmed to be here? Are you a pod person? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I actually was born in New York, as I feel like a lot of tri-state people may do. And then I moved, to Connecticut with my family, did that suburban life. And then I went to film school in Southern California because I was 18 and thought that was a smart idea. Realized that wasn't a good idea, and then transferred to UConn, go Huskies. And then after graduation, I was working at a bakery in Darien, and was just missing all of the amazing artists from UConn who I met. And so I just started cataloging and creating Connecticut See You next Tuesday, and putting all of these different artists together. And then a couple months later, I moved to New Haven, lived here for, about 2 years now. And, it's been quite a journey, but I feel like this zine is just the perfect encapsulation of everything I love about Connecticut and everything I hope to see for the state. It's a treat.
Well, and that's one of the most incredible things, because here's the thing, and this is where we get into the chicken and the egg conversation, right? Because you are an artist as well. So were you a cataloger before you were an artist, or was your cataloging something that inspired your art to continue to grow and blossom?
Yeah. So I am blessed and cursed to have two artist parents who were always challenging me and also encouraging me. So my mom is a painter and my dad is a writer. And so when I was young, I was like just doing all the little things and just like playing little instruments and in the family band and all that. But when I was 8 years old, I did my first newspaper. So I had like a weekly newspaper for my third grade class that I started, and we did investigative journalism. And it was just, that was sort of my first time making something just regularly. But I feel like I really do see like writing articles and doing photography and all this stuff is just such a seamless art into journalism and into making zines. But I feel like I've always sort of blended the two together. Like I've done video art at the same time that I was a videographer for my school newspaper. Like just sort of like the two things were very much intertwined forever.
Well, see, and that's one of the most incredible things that if you do look back throughout history and stuff like that, one of my favorite writers, I actually have part of the Gonzo fist tattooed on my chest, is Hunter S. Thompson, because of the twisting of the art and the information and how, they intertwine the two. And I kind of get a little bit of a similar feeling, from your performances and also from your writing. Because, I pay attention. I do what I'm supposed to do. I did somewhat of the homework. I mean, the dog ate it, but I did somewhat of it. How important is it to have your personality shining through your writing? Because a lot of the information in journalism can just be, this is the facts. There are some phenomenal writers out there who, headlines are like, 2 bands play at Cafe 9, which is great because it's the information that's necessary, but it doesn't hook the way it should. So how important is your personality there?
So important. I mean, like I'm also just a huge fan of Hunter S. Thompson, who's an Orlean, even like David Sedaris' articles, like all these people who bring in like cataloging events, but still make their voice and their personality so clear. And I think it's just the most fun way to experience something. And just makes writing so much fun. Like, I just feel like just reading articles and having it be an enjoyable experience is what can like make people want to inform themselves. And I think that like you're doing an event a disservice if you're not making it at least somewhat kind of fun. Like, of course, I get it. Like, state the facts, of course. Like, sort of big time journalism is an important part of this process of cataloging things, of course. But I think that like doing the sort of journalism that I do in the zine and like at Cafe 9 and things like that, like there's so many fun ways to explore how you're experiencing those events too. But I think, I try my best to emulate all of those authors and like bring in my sort of 2 cents into those experiences without getting too, heady. But yeah.
Okay. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I want to kind of jump back a little bit because there's 2 things I really want to focus on right now. You said family band, so I'm thinking you had like a Partridge Family bus. Is that what is going on here?
My dad wishes he wishes we had a bus. I was playing, so my dad played guitar, plays bass and mandolin, all these things, and then my sister was relegated to the bass guitar and singing, and then I was, of course, as the third one, the drummer. So I was drumming this little family band, and it was a great time. We didn't really perform much, but I was always the roadie for my dad's events because he's just in like a billion different bands. I was just like 15, like falling asleep on like couches and bars and just like had that sort of experience. But it really is what that, I don't know, that whole musical love and experience of like being in that scene and experiencing it and wanting to catalog it and sort of take that picture. But I mean, it's what like brought me to DJing is like drumming and playing the flute in middle school. Just kind of keeping it up. And just I feel like that's also again the zine. I mean, everyone loves music in some sort of way. And it's fun to bring experiences like when I go to shows and talk to random people and put it in the zine. It's just such a treat.
Well, and now I wanted to actually bring up the other thing. You started the paper in the 3rd grade, and it was investigative journalism. So it was like, who didn't put the salt in the tater tots this week? Or like, what was that? Like, who ate the most amount of glue? What were we investigating in 3rd grade? I need to know.
Oh, there was actually our first investigative. Well, so I started the zine, LOL. I started the newspaper, and then some kids in my class are really like interested in talking about some of the stuff and having me exploring some of the stuff. So there was actually a bunch of trash underneath the jungle gym. And we were all very confused because we're like, where is all of this trash coming? Like it was tons and tons of trash underneath it. And so I went out and I was trying to figure out where all the trash was coming from. And lo and behold, it was just people littering by the parking lot nearby the jungle gym. But yeah, that was a really important and exciting piece for me as a young journalist. So yeah, it was great.
That actually that just made me so happy on so many different levels. I will be honest with you. That was heartwarming. It was awesome. It was everything I needed.
It was really fun. It was really, I did a piece on there are these two girls in my third grade class who my teacher would call the Valley Girls because they just had that sort of accent. I didn't know what that was. So I did a piece on like what Valley Girls were and asked my teacher, like, what are Valley Girls? And like, what is that? And yeah, it was really fun. My first time making crosswords. It was a great start.
Wait, you made crosswords?
I was like making little crosswords. I mean, I use some crossword generators and now I like make it all by hand. So it's like actually way more precise than back in the day. But I was really into The Simpsons growing up, and there's an episode where Lisa becomes a crossword creator, and I just was like obsessed with that episode. So it was pretty much that crossword from that epised.
Wow. You sadistic son of a gun. I have so many feelings about that right now. The next thing you're gonna say is you also got a Wordle going on now, or something. There's
Never done. Guess what? I've never done a Wordle, and I'm kind of sticking to it. I've like watched from my friends do it. I've never done it by myself, but I'm sticking to crosswords. Those are my favorite.
I did one Wordle, and I got it the first try.
Good for you.
And I will not. Well, it was. Well, here's the thing. It was. I always start off with the first name of my band as like the word, and it just happened to be that one.
No way.
Yeah. Because I'm in Shame Penguin, and Shame has all the word. It has the S, the H, the A, the M, and the E. So one of those letters is going to show up there.
Right.
So it just statistically it made sense to me, and I was like, boom. They're like winner. I was like, never again. I am done. Out of the way. We're good
keep
here.
That streak. Keep your accuracy at 100. That's very impressive. That's fantastic.
Yes, I also, I would try out for Major League Baseball, and I'd hit one home run, and I'm done. I'm good.
You're good.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So grand opening, grand closing. It's the way to go about things. But as you are continuing to evolve and grow, and I love how we're getting into the beginning starts of your journey. You also are a DJ QT. Yes. And you have this incredible moment, and I've actually got to witness it, where all of a sudden there's this awesome DJ remix of Barbie Girl, and you pull out a flute, and you don't just play the flute. Like Jethro Tull will look at that performance and be like, she moves a lot. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of movement.
Yep.
So how did that happen? Because I have to say, from all of and I wish I would have put two and two together, because like when you talk to me about whatever, it is actually considered like within my top 12 moments of the State House, is like, because I love when reality bends, and you bent reality for that moment. So how did that happen?
So kind. So I was playing flute. I was just practicing, but I had never done it with DJing for a bit. And I've been DJing for the past like 5 years. So I've never blended the two before. I've done like bass guitar while DJing, but I've never done flute. And I just was loving practicing and getting really into playing flute. And I was like, I feel like this is so perfect, because like when you're DJing, you're going to do samples, you're going to just play certain notes. And I was like, this is the most perfect instrument to play while DJing. And so I was like, you know what, let's do it. So I was playing, I just like was practicing Barbie Girl, and I did a split on stage while I was playing flute, which was very difficult. And so for the week before, I was wearing like 3-inch, 4-inch heels. So I was like practicing in my room with my heels on and like my flute, and being like, okay, how am I gonna do this? And my sister was like was with me, and she was like trying to coach me, like doing the split while doing Barbie Girl while DJing. And it was very nerve-wracking in the moment because I was like, because with DJing, you're constantly have something to do. Like you're constantly like, how's this going? How's this going? How's this going? And so to have both of my hands on my flute was a little nerve-wracking. So I had to like really make sure that I was like on it. But yeah, it's just I love playing flute while DJing. And now it's like one of my favorite things to do. And like I bring it into all my sets. But yeah, it was such a treat to play Barbie Girl. And when I was at Diesel Lounge, we're now doing club nights for the zine. And I brought my flute for the first one, and I was just like riffing and doing like random like sort of notes off the top of my head and just listening to the song. It's so much fun. I love playing flute. It's the best instrument.
The best instrument. That now there's a whole, you've just made a whole bunch of musicians very, very mad. There's a whole bunch of people right now. Most of them probably have neck beards, but they're all like, "Meow, meow, meow." And this is the point.
Yeah.
This is the point in time where I say, anyone who has any sort of hate mail or anything like that, feel free to hit up Preston. He'll take it because I don't care.
Send it to us. It's the zine with the period on the U. I would love to hear what's a better instrument. My favorite instruments are steel drums and flute. I think they are just like such fun instruments. And yeah, I'm just a huge fan. I think it's great. I dare you to listen to bossa nova with flute players and tell me that it's not your favorite instrument.
Well, it's super interesting too, because you were actually at the State House's last show, The Jam, who had one of my favorite human beings in the entire world, someone who showed me that there's such a thing called soul flautist. Dylan is family. Dylan has given drum lessons to my youngest. So when I say, homie is family, homie is family. What was it like to see flute in that environment and it not be you?
I was so excited. I saw the flute at the flute stand, which I don't even have. Like I was like it was such a beautiful flute too. And I was just fangirling. I was just like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see this flute. And yeah, it was just epic. And then at one point I was doing some interviews outside State House and came back in. This person I was with at the show was like, oh, you just missed like the coolest flute solo ever. And I was like, well, that's really unfortunate. But I did get to see a good chunk of flute and I was just so pumped. Dylan, I've never met him before, but by God, that's a good flautist. Like it was so fun to see and so cool. I love seeing like soul and jazz flute like out. It's just so good.
And for those who haven't seen jazz flute before, you can watch Ron Burgundy in the first which was amazing. Now I can't remember the name of the movie. Anchorman, in the first Anchorman, and he has a whole he has this whole jazz flautist thing going on. It was absolutely ingenious and one of the best moments in cinema, and we're having an incredible moment here on WNHH 103.5 FM New Haven. This is Behind the Brand. I am Easy Blues. Prestige is hanging out with Sasquatch looking for the Loch Ness Monster because Mrs. Davis said the Loch Ness Monster is the one that has the Holy Grail. But we are here with Zoe. We are talking about Kanata, see you next Tuesday, the amazing zine that does all these incredible things and really catalogs all what is beautiful in New Haven and New Haven arts and Connecticut arts. Now, as you do process and move through there, and someone who is so infatuated with words and the chronicling as well, will there be like a spoken word album from DJ Cutie, or like are we going to start getting some harmonies going on? Like what's the next evolution? Like challenge?
That's such a great question. I was actually at Cafe 9 yesterday and Wow Okay Cool Band was playing and they're DJing while like screaming. And I was like, is this the next iteration of my DJ set where I'm doing screamo on top of DJing? That's a great question. My friend Mar Pelias, who I edit the zine with, she's like an amazing spoken word poet, like absolutely incredible. And that was our first project we ever worked on together. We were a part of the WHUS scene at Yukon Radio. And she was like, I have this spoken word poem. I don't know what to do with it. Does anyone want to make art for it? And I was like, I'll do it. And so I made like some video art for it. And I've always wanted to bring more sort of stuff like spoken word into my sets. I've brought some like clips of interviews and stuff that I really like. Like there's this clip of Bjork talking about like being a woman in music that I've like sampled a bunch of times before in my sets, but I've never like done my own I've done like little bits where I'm talking for like 2 seconds toward the end of a set or whatever. But I've never done like a full spoken word DJ set. I feel like that's a really good idea. And especially because like, I don't know, I love like the history of DJing is so intertwined with hip hop and stuff too. I feel like spoken word and sort of having that human element into a remix is so important.
It's been something that is absolutely incredible for generations upon generations. One of my favorite records is actually Jim Morrison's American Prayer, where it's just all spoken word with supposedly the Doors are playing in the background. But like I somewhat fade out on that because awake, cast dreams from my hair, my pretty child, my sweet, choose the day, choose the sign of your day. It's incredibleness that flows through it. And I love that artistry aspect. So yeah, I mean, tell me when it's gonna happen. I will totally be there. It'll be good times. But now, like as you are moving forward and as you are growing, and the zine is growing tremendously. What started off as a one-off is now something that you're putting out. Like what was the last thing? Like bi-monthly, and you're putting out like 500 orders a shop.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Especially consider people can like click and go online, but people still want the physical. What is that connection like?
I love that people want the physical. I've been an avid magazine subscriber since I was really young because my mom does hair, and so I always have had like magazines at home. And I don't know, I think that like it's kind of why people, at least that I've talked to, don't really buy like Kindles or anything. Like people just like having physical copies of books and physical things. And I think especially as like social media is just so clearly like, fraught, I think it's just really cool to see people like really embrace ways to connect with like things that you can hold and feel and like connect with. And it's so wild to me. Like I just it's just like, you have hopes and dreams when you like start a zine where you're like, oh, it'd be really cool if someone likes this. Like that would be really cool. And so to see so many people, especially at like zine fairs that we run, where it is completely packed, like completely to the brim packed with people and like local zines. It is so cool to see that people are like embracing independent media and want to hold something and have some sort of like physical copy. I think it's just like, I don't know, it's really like just wonderful to think about, especially as someone who loves making it, just to know that people like, we wouldn't be making this if it wasn't community funded and supported. Like that's the only reason why we exist. So it's so cool that there's a want and appreciation of it.
Now we kind of bulldozed over something that piqued my interest and I want to talk about a zine fest. Like what's going on? Like how am I just finding out about this now? Why hasn't anyone told me before? I like to just randomly show up to places and like poof, easy's here. It's just the way things go. And especially if there's some sort of spotlight, I'm it's a little bit gonna shine this way. It's just how it's just who I am. You've had a conversation with me, you understand. So what is a zine fest? How do we go? Like what's going what?
So we're gonna have another next zine fest is gonna be July 29th. Mark your cal. It's gonna be on a Saturday. And it's gonna be our fourth one, I believe fourth or fifth, which is just wild again to think about. But we started it, I want to say a year and a half. It was like 6 months or so into making the zine. So it was in 2021. It was like mid or late. I don't know. But anywho, the zine was asked to do a zine fair in New York, and it was just like the most ideal situation we've ever seen. It was like in a warehouse. It had this model of like paying people who are tabling instead of like taking like hundreds of
Mhm.
dollars away from them. Like it was just like the most welcoming, positive environment. And we were like, we need to bring this to New Haven. And so I was just like, of course, with my ridiculousness, I was just like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we'll start a zine fair. Like, let's do it. And so I asked the bike co-op, the Bradley Street Bike Co-op, if they would be down. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And so we had our first zine fair there. I want to say like September, October. No, it was like April 2022 or something.
Mhm.
And it was just a super huge success. Tons of people came out. We organized that one with Bridge and Tunnel. And it was just like, it was so cool how many people came out. We just,
Mhm.
probably like 400 people were there, just like, yeah, throughout like 5 hours. It was like
Mhm.
people were like pushing their way through. Like it was that
Mhm.
sort of vibe. It was ridiculous. Um, and then we've just kept running them ever since. So we have it. We then after that one we did two more, and they're just so fun. Also at the Bradley Street Bike Co-op, and we only have local Connecticut or New Haven zines, and it's just really cool to see the zine sort of scene in New Haven specifically even just like explode since then. Like I love seeing zines pop up, and people who have reached out being like, I really want a table, but I've never made a zine before. Can you help me? And we've like helped coach people through making zines and just providing resources. And I don't know, it's really fun, but definitely come to the next one. Come to the next one. It's going to be epic. It's always
Oh,
epic.
I'm gonna be there, and
Awesome.
I'm gonna wrestle the Loch Ness monster to make sure Prestige is there as well, because
Perfect. Perfect.
he's even more fun than I am,
Yeah.
because he is he is the Dean Martin in our Martin and Lewis, so it works out really well.
Perfect.
I'm just
Perfect.
saying. Very true. He is the straightest of straight men, and which makes my insanity look amazing. Um,
Love it.
but what's really amazing, and I love the fact that you have this zine fest, but now I want to break it down a little bit. Like, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. Are there like panels where, like, a couple of like the zine people will sit down and tell other people how to start zines? Do you guys tell stories, or is it just kind of like a bunch of tables and everyone talks about their zine and they're pitching their zine to grow?
So yeah, so what we do is the bike co-op, it's like a sort of like a warehouse. So we have about like 6 tables on each side of the warehouse.
Hmm.
And then two zines share each table, and then people can come in and buy the zine from them directly. I just talk to them about their zine. We thought about doing panels. The one that in by Hyperlink Press that we went to in New
Hmm.
York had panels, and I thought it was really cool and very special. But there were a lot of people who were just coming in, like trying to talk to us while the panel was going on and being like, "How much is this zine?" And we'd
Hmm.
be like, so we just have it just kind of like a free for all, sort of like come through, chat with people, like do your thing. But it's really, really cool. But people just sell their zines or give out zines if they're for free. And we've had so many different ones. We've had the Reach Fund from CT do it, where they provide like abortion resources for
Hmm.
people. There's a bunch of like music zines. There are people who do like this one guy, it was super cool. He does sketches at like different shows that he goes to. So there's tons of like Connecticut artists in
Hmm.
like sketched out in his zine, like all over the place, like thick art books or like little things printed on like just classic folded up zine from a copier. It's really cool and just such a cool way to see other sorts of zines, but it's very much like chill, come through,
Hmm.
talk with people, get a zine if you want sort of vibe.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. So it kind of has like that flea market vibe
exactly.
that I love and has been highlighted so well in Mallrats, one of my favorite movies of all times. Um,
Mm.
just saying, you can see Kevin Smith is a big influence on my look. But it's fine. But no, it's absolutely incredible, and I love how everything you do is so all immersive. This is not, we talk about it on the show at all times. People who are successful, we kind of go with the professional wrestling format of it, where the
Mm.
most successful professional wrestlers are just themselves dialed up to 11. And the reason why you have all these different avenues that are landing for you is because you're not trying to be anything other than yourself. And, you are fully embracing, as I like to call, the weird. And if that offends you, you can hit up
Not at
Preston,
all. Not
and
for a
feel
second.
free.
Thank
Good.
God that's coming
Yeah,
off.
good.
Thank
Good.
God.
Good. So I just want to make sure, and it's so incredible to see. It's something that was the moment I was like, okay, I need to have this person on the show. We need to tell her story, because you do this on your own. It's 100% crowd funded. It's 100% crowdsourced. So 3 people that are listening right now, you can do this. This is not something that's unattainable. Your voice is important. Your point of view is important, even if it's just to get out there and have a counterpoint. Because when those counterpoints are there and they can be handled respectfully, there's incredible growth and there's incredible healing that can happen. I'm a big fan of, I feel that we need to have a lot more uncomfortable conversations, because that's the only way we're going to be able to grow and be better as a society, even though no matter what, we are just animals. And that's fine. But now, in a different type of aspect of it, what is like a day in the life? Like, are you like a Netflix binger, or like do you just not have the time? Like, what inspires you? Like, pop culture inspires the heck out of me. I just finished watching the Muppets Mayhem thing, and I got the vinyl, which yes, I do. Cool. Yeah, dope. So what inspires you? Because there are people at home who don't know what inspiration is, and it could be right there for them. So what inspires you?
I mean, oh my gosh. I feel like I've been just someone who's just been like eating up any sort of like pop culture or like stuff that just makes me happy. Like, I don't know, I'm just someone, I feel like there's many people among us who are just the Wikipedia divers, and I am one of them. Like, just sort of wanting, like, once you learn about one artist, you're like, where are they from? What's their vibe? What other people are they playing with? What sort of venues are they going to? Like, what sort of genre even is this? Like, that's just how my brain sort of, how I like to go. But I mean, oh my gosh, so much stuff inspires me. I feel like living in East Rock in New Haven and like going to the park every day is like my main source of inspiration, and just seeing like the awe that's around me. And I don't know, just nature is like a super big important inspiration for like my art and my music, and just being in that. I think that DJing and like the process of music discovery is so important to me, like the different sorts of dance music, and just wanting to read and learn as much as possible. I'm like, it's taken me forever, but I'm finally reading Dilla Time, which is just like everything.
So good.
Such an amazing book. Such an amazing book. And just like wanting to learn all this stuff. And I read Major Labels by Kalefa Senna, who's from New Haven. I did this article on him because I realized he was from New Haven, and like just wanting to learn. Like, once I feel like for people who maybe not don't know where to start, I mean, like, just think of one thing that you like if it's food, what sort of food are you really liking? What sort of other sort of chefs are making the best of that type of food? Where are they from? Where are they living? What sort of ingredients are they working with? Who inspires them? What sort of cookbooks, things are they sort of diving into? I feel like there's so much stuff that, I mean, I don't know, everything is connected. And so I think that it's just really fun to just get in an area of passion, and you're going to just dive right in. I mean, so many DJs inspire me, so many zine creators and artists inspire my work. And I think that it's just so key to just when you're this is going to maybe sound cheesy, but when you're performing or sharing work from a place of love, it's just going to be great. It's just going to be great.
You have to check out the next time that they're spinning around the vinylistics. DJ Prime and this other guy, I always forget his name, they would play at the State House on a regular basis, but they would show up, and myself and Mike, who's the primary sound guy there, would literally have hours upon hours of conversation about music and about the different things. And every time they were there, they would turn us on to something new, something different. And like, even, I don't know how far along in Dilla Time you are, but you're gonna find out that there's a particular band, I believe from Australia, Coyote Hiatus. You're gonna want to seriously listen to them, especially if you're a fan of Dilla's music and the symphony performance that they talk about in that as well. You're going to want to listen to that, and you're going to want to be so mad because you're listening to like DJ beats full symphonically, and like with the times and the stops and and the drag. It's just by far. All right, yeah. I'm sorry, you hit my music geek aspect of it now. I apologize.
No, please. I love it. I'm so excited. This book is so good. Like,
yeah. Oh, so good. So good. So good. And that's one of the most key things too. As creatives, you have to stay stimulated. And the more avenues you can have for that type of stimulation is key. And you have to be open for when it's going to strike. I have written many lyrics while sitting and watching a movie, and the people around me have gotten very mad because I stopped paying attention to the movie because I just needed to get this line or 2 or 7 or 12 out. Because it's that important. Thank goodness I didn't come up in the time where you had the cell phones you could record into at all times. I would just be talking over the movies the entire time. This is what it is. Pay no attention to Jamie Foxx. Yes, Jamie Foxx is jumping from a building. It's great. I don't care. This is important. I still take
so important. Yeah, no. I mean, I studied film before I transferred to UConn, so like all of just to film and TV and all of that stuff. I mean, like, yeah, I was just the kid who was doing homework and like half watching TV like the entire time and like doing creative writing assignments while being like inspired by like stupid comedy central shows. Like that was just like what, everything was.
And it's one of the most incredible things too, because the first time I realized I was a creative was being young and watching a Robin Williams stand-up comedy.
Interesting.
It's his mind, like the way his mind worked. I was like, oh my gosh, this person gets it. This person understands, how everything can flick and go about in its different directions. And I was like, oh, that's actually why I have Nanu tattooed on my knuckles.
Awesome.
Thank you. But this is not about me. This is about you, and this is about the amazing magazine here on WNHH 103.5 FM, New Haven. This is Behind the Brand. I am Easy Blues. Prestige is having tea with Prince Charles, who's now the king, and things are fantastic because pawn jumps rook. And we are here with Zoe talking about the amazing zine and the zine culture. But now that we're here and we're talking about Canada, see you next Tuesday, we need to really understand like what inspires you to want to write about something. What was like, hey, this is an important conversation that needs to happen. How do you research your stories, or do they just come to you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, like, I'm very lucky all of my stories, at least like the ones that I've done for the zine, like particularly just shows that I go to are things that I would be going to anyways. And so it's kind of, honestly, it's an excuse for me because I do these things where I go to shows and then I just talk to people in the crowd. And so I do like a little mini summary and then like have interviews from people in the crowd. And it's just an excuse for me to talk to random strangers while I'm at the show and just sort of just talk to people. But I mean, that's so much of my inspiration is just, or like sort of the articles that I choose are just things that I feel like are just interesting, and maybe having a sort of I don't know, a reason to go up to someone and be like, hey, can I interview you really quickly? Or like, hey, do you have a moment to talk or whatever? Like, it's just sort of like an excuse for me to get more into something that I otherwise would want to attend. I mean, like the final State House shows, like I was going to go to those regardless. Like there was no way that I was going to miss those. And then I was just like, well, this is just kind of perfect because I do really want to learn like what's going to happen after, like what's everyone's sort of next steps. I was like, where are all these people going? How is this going to change New Haven? And so like, it was just sort of an excuse for me to be like, oh, hey, Dustin, can I talk to you really quickly? Like, so it was, I feel like the zine and like, it's really just, I mean, all the articles I do are just interests that I already have that I just want to learn more about. And again, it's what I said about just like sort of writing and exploring your interest from a place of love. I mean, like, it's not boring. It's like what I would want to know. Like, I want to know what makes a good, like, sort of venue and what that looks like for New Haven, you know?
It's so interesting that you mentioned that, because I remember getting the text message that, you know, you're coming through and this is what it is, and you showed up, and I never put two and two together, because like, again, I'm very like, when I'm there, I'm just there. I'm just a part, like I'm just a part of the machine.
Mhm.
And I like that feature, but I also forget like who I am sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know, so and you're like, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like, gonna write a thing. Never in my head was I like, this person's gonna want to talk to me or anything like that. And then you're like, oh, and then I saw, I was like, oh, and it was like, I'm in an emotional space,
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
I'm like, feel, and you're like, oh, let's talk. I was like, ah, oh, son of a gun. This is not, man. You know, and that was, I was like, maybe I have to go get ice. Maybe I need to go. And you're like, no, we're good. I was like, ah, curses. Um, you know, because again, I forget, you know, and then from what I hear too is, yeah, after apparently you interviewed Caitlin, she's like, you have to go talk to Dustin.
No, exactly. And I was like, oh yeah, talk to Dustin. I mean, I like really want, I feel like that piece was so incredible. And before I even went, I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to Los, and I want to talk to all the different bartenders and everything, because I was like, and the sound guy was such like Mike was such an important part of that interview too, because I feel like, I don't know, there were so many different pieces that made that place so special. And so like, I think that there was, I don't know, what goes into making a venue, or I'm sure, as you know, just any sort of brand or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people that make us place special. So no, I was so pumped. I was so excited. I knew that you said you weren't excited, but it was a great interview.
Well, it's so interesting, because I actually, Mike is my special boy. Like that is someone who, him and I have bonded throughout this entire time. It's been one of the most fun things, you know, to happen. So now that we're not doing that like on an every night basis, it's kind of been weird. But we're not here to talk about me. Enough about me. Gosh darn it, stop it.
No.
This is why I don't like having other interviewers on the show, because you spin things. And no, it's your show. We're talking about you and your magazine.
There's so much.
But now let's also talk about what I consider now, honestly, the coolest moment the State House has ever had in the history of forever, ever. During the jam, Stout walks up, grabs a microphone, and takes us to church doing Smells Like Teen Spirit.
That was such an intense moment. That was so, my jaw was dropped that entire time. I was just like, whoa. It was so good. So good.
Yeah, and you know, I talked with Prestige about this on Monday. I said, yes, it brought us so far down to church that the Holy Spirit came by and drop kicked people in the chest. It was amazing. But what is it like now? Now you're there, and you're there to journal, and you're there to and now that moment happens.
Yeah.
What clicks for you? Like, where do you stop being the observer that is, you know, kind of taking it all in and being like, oh no, this is the moment I need to start, you know, making sure I'm writing some stuff down. How does that work for you?
I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like whether you're there to do journalism or not, so many thoughts are popping into your head. And so, I mean, like, I was just jotting things furiously in my notes app of just like, I'm just thinking about how like special this moment was. I mean, like, I was like tearing up at that moment, because it was just like so, I feel like honestly, that show was like the best concert I've been to, hands down. Like, hands down. It was just so intense, emotional, beautiful. The performances were so good. Everyone there was just in such like a very special, unique mood, both like in celebration and just like deep despair. So it was just so such a unique moment. But I was just jotting everything down. I was just taking photos. I like went through 2 rolls of film. I was just like, oh my God, like what's going on? But I mean, I think that I feel like in those sort of situations, it's about like, the only difference is that I'm writing it down, because everyone through that moment was going through something and had so many thoughts. And the only difference was that I was like gotta make sure I write this down. But that was it. It was so many moments were popping in my head. It was just amazing.
And that's one of the most incredible things about the Jam. It's actually something that I followed when they used to be a PST, and they've grown and gone about the thing. I remember one of the first ones I went to, I actually jumped on there with them. I was on stage with like four
Oh,
gospel singers,
fun.
and I couldn't sing. I couldn't talk for the next 3 days. They beat my voice up so bad, I
Oh my
couldn't talk
God.
for the next 3 days. And that's when I was like, okay, I have to learn to recalibrate and stuff like that. And then I think you left before the whole thing like finished.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, there was a whole run of artists that came up, like Finn Wiggins Henry was up there, D Music was up there, and when D first came in, I'm at the door. I'm like, "Are you gonna go up?" Like, "Well, are you gonna go up there?" It's like, "I'm working. I'm at the door right now. I'm doing a job." And so she's like, "Well, I'll go up if you go up." And then like the door just finished up, and she went up, and I was like, ugh. I guess I gotta follow a promise. So I actually had to jump up there, and
How
it was just a great moment,
fun. That's so
because
special.
and the week prior I was up there doing a solo acoustic thing in a skirt. It was amazing.
Oh,
We challenge everything as much as possible. As I'm rocking the new Co-Defendants T-shirt. By
love
the
it.
way, I hope you're listening to that record
For
nonstop.
sure.
But as we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to evolve. What are the next steps for you? I mean, are we going to have kind of like the zine, but now in the full website aspect of it, where you have your video selections, you've got some Canetta See You Next Tuesday merchandise that's there. What are we, what's the next evolution? Because you've gotten this far, and you have the drive. I see it. You got the sparkle in your eye right now. It's an amazing sparkle. So what's the next thing? Because people definitely love what you're saying. They love what you're doing, and they're already investing in you.
Thank
So,
you.
what's the next growth?
So challenging to even imagine. I mean, it's very hard because like as you said, like we have videos, we have podcast episodes, but like we have 2 podcast episodes out because Mar, the co-editor, and I just balance like full-time jobs. So it's so frustrating when it's like, oh, we should get this done, but we literally don't have time. But I feel like it's sort of providing different modes of sharing content, like definitely through the website, of course, but also just like different ways of showing other people's work too. I mean, like we had our second exhibit at it was at Coffee with a K, and they had reached out to us and was like, hey, like, would you guys want to do an exhibit? And so we're like, oh my God, of course. Yeah, for sure. So just sort of like moments like that, I think. And that event was so ridiculous because we were like, no one's gonna show up. It's a Tuesday night after Memorial Day. There's like no way. And like, no, we're not upset about it. Like, we'll just eat dinner and like chill out. But it was completely and utterly packed. Like, I'm not like, it was ridiculous how packed it was. And so I think just like having more opportunities and moments like that. I mean, like now that we're doing DJ nights, I think like that's such an important part, and like growing sort of different venues and shows and things like that. Like we had our last we had club See You Next Tuesday at Diesel Lounge last Saturday, and it was just absolutely kooky crazy. We had 4 different DJs, and it was again like so packed. So I think just like having more moments to show up in community with other people is just like the goal, like whether that's a music festival, whether that's having some sort of physical space, whether that's, sharing literature. I mean, I'm a haunt of like bookstores and libraries. So like having that sort of thing.
Well, I have to say it has been absolutely awesome to haunt this past hour with you, but unfortunately the Apollo curtain is being pulled upon us, and it is as Lizzo says, about that time. This is the moment of time I want to give the mic completely to you. How can people get in touch with you? How can they invest in you as a human being? How can they help your dreams be accomplished? How can they 100% see the next DJ Cutie show? How can they get their hands on the Canetta See You Next Tuesday magazine when it drops? The floor is yours.
God. Thank you. I mean, the best way, if you're into zines, if you don't even know what a zine is, there's a lot of areas to explore the zine. Our Instagram is CONNECTIC_NT on Instagram. We also have the full name with a U instead of the underscore .xyz as our website. Our next zine fair and zine are out July 29th. And it's going to be our 2-year anniversary. So we're going to have a party at Diesel Lounge afterwards. And we're going to have a zine fair that day. So there's a lot of different ways to just stay in the loop, and hope you join in community with us. It would be an honor.
Well, it has been an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Friday to talk about seeing next Tuesdays.
Such a treat. You're the best. Thank you.
I'm merely a penguin. But I just want to thank you so much. Thank you for being on Behind the Brand. We are here on WNHH 103.5 FM, New Haven. I am Easy Blues. Prestige, once again, got that text message from Mrs. Davis, and he's off to find the Holy Grail. He will be back on Monday for more shenanigan. But it is awesome. It has been an honor and a privilege. And I just want to say, thank you so much for all you do. And definitely keep me in loop. Like, I definitely want to help you grow, and anything that I can do to help you move forward. Let's get weird. I'm all about getting as weird as humanly possible.
Come on. And we're doing it already.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And when is that State House piece going to be published? Is that in the 29th?
Well, definitely it's going to be in the next issue, but I'm trying to get it up on the website before then. So
okay, well, let me know so I can share the heck out of it. And I'll have tissues because someone will be cutting onions while I'm reading it. That's why.
Of course,
and I'm cutting onions.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Had nothing to do with anything in feelings. Feelings. That's why I take Prozac. But yeah, we truly appreciate you. And once again, thank you for coming on Behind the Brand. WNHH 103.5 FM, New Haven. And I believe we are out.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last.
I don't know if the earth is painted.